I have a ton of deadlines. And so instead of stressing about it, I end up just staying up till like 12 a.m. or 3 a.m.
Okay.
But that, in turn, by not sleeping enough, puts stress on my body physically and chemically. Welcome to the Sheroic Podcast. I'm Cassey.
And I'm Lisa.
And today we are talking about stress.
Yeah, the wonderful stress.
Do you get stressed?
I do.
Yeah?
I used to get stressed a lot.
Uh-huh.
But that's why I actually really wanted to really discuss this today. And we're both so interested because I have definitely put in tactics and techniques to not eliminate, but at least reduce the stress load. Do you have stress in your life?
Stressed? So I've been told that I don't show stress, but I get stressed when I don't sleep, and it shows physically in
Like
terms
how?
of like not being able to lose weight because I have too much cortisol in my body from lack of sleep, and so I actually gain extra fat in my lower belly type of stress. But when it comes to work stress or life stress, I mean, I'm upset, but I don't think that kind of stuff affects me the way not sleeping does.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you get upset over being stressed, like getting like,
Yeah, it's either like sadness or upset, and then it turns into, okay, well, how do I get over this?
Right.
But for me, I don't get stressed as easily as Sam, for example. He gets, and I think that's why he gets extra stressed because he's stressing for me.
huh.
The fact that I don't
He's
stress.
like compensating for your
He's
stress.
compensating for my lack of stress. But I think I just manage it differently, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like some people will express it in different forms.
Yeah.
So you get it where you get sad.
Well, okay, so here's the thing.
Break it down.
So basically, let's say it's going to be a huge week. I have a ton of things to do, a lot of deadlines. And so instead of stressing about it, I end up just staying up till like 12 a.m. or 3 a.m. finishing stuff. But that, in turn, by not sleeping enough, puts stress on my body physically and chemically. So that's how I become stressed. But like emotionally, I don't think I'm stressed in the way that most people would imagine that, like, pulling my hair, going like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I don't go on like that for more than like a few minutes or something. And then I'm like, okay, how do I fix this? So sometimes there are just weeks where you just have to grind, and I know it. And I know that I'm not going to get to sleep enough. And until I'm able to hire more help, and, that's the only way I can really start getting more sleep. And, there's definitely weeks where I'm okay and I'm getting sleep at like 11:30 or something like that. But, sometimes you just grind and then you just make it up the next week. I just know that sometimes that's what I have to do.
You just keep pushing through.
I just do it. But if it comes to a point where it's becoming super unhealthy and I'm doing it consistently for months, which is what I used to do for years, then that's a problem. Then you got to change your lifestyle. But if it's like 1 week where I know I just have to go hard, there's a lot of deadlines, and I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
It's fine. My body will bounce back.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? How do you manage your stress?
So I wouldn't really recognize it. So I would just keep going and keep going. So where you say, like, if it's a week, like, it's not a big deal, or like, I'm the one that goes for months and months and months and months and months and just grinds it, and to the point where I'm not enjoying myself anymore. And then when I'm not enjoying myself anymore, but I'm still pushing through it, and it becomes, it does almost become all-consuming in regards to. So in fact, let's back up.
Okay.
When you're stressed, cortisol is pumped through your body and your brain, and it makes it cloudy. And that's exactly how I feel. Like, my brain starts to feel cloudy, which means that I can't really make clear decisions. Like, I feel foggy. I'm not really achieving or doing anything at 100%, which, of course, if I'm then not achieving something at 100%, it then stresses me out.
Yeah.
Which is like a vicious cycle. And so it got to a point where I was like, I need to start identifying what are the triggers that get me to the point that I'm feeling now. Like, what's that first initial thing? And then what are the steps that lead me into getting cloudy and not being able to make decisions, and then kind of backtrack and try and avoid it. and then coming up with those, tactics.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people, and so I want to read a question actually based on stress, because we've got a lot of questions about that subject. One woman, Andrea from Twitter, asks, why do you think stress makes you want to eat everything in sight, and how do you handle stress eating? I want to say stat based on that question. So 43% of women are reported to overeat or eat unhealthy foods in times of stress, compared to 32% of men. 30% of women reported eating to manage their stress. So in, how I was saying about like tactics and what do we do and how do we, like, some people turn to food as a help mechanism. Other people feel from like a question like, how do I stop doing that? Because clearly it's not helping. Poor Andrea on Twitter.
Oh man, I can say a lot about that because I have an emotional relationship with food that I'm trying to disconnect from. Story, this past Sunday, Sam was away from the house and he needed to go do something for like 4 hours or something like that. And for whatever reason, I just started binging on everything. It was really weird. And we had just eaten lunch together and it wasn't time for dinner. So technically I wasn't hungry. I know I wasn't hungry, but for some reason, because he was out of the house, I somehow relapsed into my old like eating disorder days. And I was like, oh, he's gone. I'm going to like sneak in some food. It was super weird. And I think I probably started getting so frantic that he wasn't there and I only had a small amount of time to eat all this food that I started eating really weird stuff that I don't even like. Like I was eating rice cakes. I don't even really like rice cakes. I was stuffing rice cakes. I was eating cereal. I made a little vegan quesadilla and I just like kept eating. And I think within the few hours, I think I consumed anywhere between 1,250 to 1,300 calories. Like, and that is like having already eaten lunch and not eaten dinner yet. And, yeah, and I didn't feel good. I was super bloated for the next 3 days, and my body was like, "Don't ever do that again." But that brings me to talk about stress eating because I think I was missing him or something like that. And even he went to go do something for 5 hours, but I think because I was missing him and it was a Sunday and I didn't technically need to work, that I kind of didn't know what to do with myself, that I just started eating. It was like comforting, but it wasn't tasty. It was really weird.
So yeah, let's try and analyze that, because here's the thing, I've done that many times in the past. I think a lot of women that are listening can relate to that. And so like, identifying, is it out of boredom, right? Like maybe like what you said, like I didn't know what to do with myself, so I just started eating. Was it feeling like a void that you had or that you were feeling? In fact, were you going through anything emotional?
Sam's mom had come over to the house and Sam was feeling something weird in his chest, and then so she took him to go see a doctor. And so maybe I was worried, and so I just started eating, which is really weird.
That was like...
Yeah. I mean, he's totally fine, so don't worry. But yeah, I mean, that was the only thing that was going on that day. Also, my dad was visiting that weekend, and he always gives me like memories from back in the day of, stuff. Not so nice memories. And, he's a lot better now, but I think maybe having my dad around makes me feel more stressed. So maybe it was to cover up emotions or something. I'm not even sure. So for me, stress eating, I think, is a thing that definitely I've experienced.
Looking back now, do you think of anything like what would you do differently, or how do you prevent that from happening?
I think I just need to get out of the house. When I'm in the house alone with the fridge and I don't know what to do, because I've already worked out for the day. I've done I've done my grocery shopping for the day. Like I've done the things I do and I have nothing to do. Like I need to just get out. Because when you distract your mind with something else, especially like a fun physical activity, then you don't need to eat because you're already busy doing something. Yeah, I think for me it comes out of boredom. Yeah.
I actually don't ever stress eat. Like I've never been a stress eater. I almost get nauseous. Like when Wookie, so my little puppy, went missing for 30 hours, and the thought of food, because I was so like emotionally like, I don't know, when you cry a lot, do you ever get that like that feeling in your stomach?
Yeah, I do.
And you know me, I'm not a crier.
You're not a crier.
And I lost it completely.
Oh
when
yeah,
Wookie went
and just so
missing.
you guys have some context, like Lisa loves Wookie like her child, and so when Wookie went missing, I knew that this was a huge deal, and I felt so bad, and I tried to share and the picture of Wookie and get people to try to find.
So in fact, not to kind of digress from stress, but I guess this is kind of all related. That probably is the most stressful point in my life when she went missing. I'm not a crier, and you were such a support system for me, because you're like, what can I do? I'll be there for you. Like, what do you need? And I remember like that we were texting back and forth, and then you posted a picture of Wookie to help me find her. That was just incredible. So totally side note, like I felt so supported. I don't think I've ever really told you like how much that impacted me and how much that meant to me.
Oh really? I felt like
God.
I didn't do enough. But...
No, I mean, and here's the thing: when I'm upset or stressed, I actually don't want to be around people. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to be around people. And I think a big thing is because I know right now I don't have control of my emotions, and that I don't actually like. And so I don't want to be around people so that I don't have to think about, oh my God, you have to manage and control your emotions. It's very weird. But yeah, so I've never had the stress eating thing. Like I almost go the opposite. Like I don't want to eat. I don't want to be around food.
That's really good.
It is, but I'm not dealing with the stress. And look, I don't know if eating is necessarily like, if people are like, oh man, no, if I go out and I'm really stressed and I have like a cupcake, I'm so much better and it clears my head. Like, I think that's great.
Well, for me, when I stress eat, it does not clear my head. It's like putting a Band-Aid on top of a wound without actually treating the problem.
Right.
So stress eating is not an effect.
Yeah.
It is not a way to solve a problem.
Right. All right, so let's talk about how do we solve the stress?
How do we solve the stress? I think it begins with lifestyle changes. I think you've got to have enough space in your head so that you're not constantly like so worried, because that's what I think that's what stress comes from, right? Like being worried about stuff. I mean, it can come from anything.
Right? To be honest, I think it can come from anything.
Yeah, it can come from bad relationships. Maybe you don't like your boss. Maybe you don't have enough money. You're abused. You're in debt. Getting bad grades. It can come from anything. People making fun of you, and so you got to identify what's making you unhappy. And then once you identify it, and even write it down, so it's very clear on paper what this thing is. And once you write it down, it doesn't become as big of an issue. And then try to figure out, okay, well, how do I get away from that? How do I do less of that? And maybe it means a career change. Maybe it means hanging around a different group of friends. Maybe it means if you're very unhappy about your energy levels and your weight, maybe it means like trying a new fitness class at the gym. Just like small steps in the right direction will help you get away from your stress. But it has to start there. It's definitely not about covering it up with stress eating and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But things that could help you, I think, that would relax you momentarily, maybe like getting a massage. Right. I think that's always really nice. Going for a walk, being around people that you really like, and just talking it out. Yeah, that really helps.
I think that's really important, right? Because the people listening, at least like for me, I want tactical takeaways, right? Like, what are the actual steps? Because there's one thing going, just don't be as stressed.
Right.
There's another thing of, okay, when you feel like this, stop. Go for a walk. Or when you feel like this, like for me, music.
Oh, yeah.
Music is very therapeutic for me. So I know when I'm in that moment of heightened stress, I know I can't convince myself otherwise in that moment. And I've sadly been there before. So I know, okay, looking back, when I'm at my most stressed, I can't convince myself otherwise, right? Because it's chemicals in your body. So I can't actively change that in that exact moment. So what else can I do? Okay, I have to walk away from the situation. I have to shut that door for a minute. So I listen to music. I'll put on something that either is empowering or something like super soft and just mellow.
What do you like to listen to when you're stressed?
I guess it depends on the type of stress.
Okay.
So if it's business stress, it may be very different than personal stress. So if it's, let's say, in a relationship where I feel hurt, and then the hurt is calling me stress because I don't know how to deal with a friend, and oh my God, like, and now I'm just in my own head, right? And I'm like, I don't know what to do, and that is just building stress on me. I may listen or watch something that is about that, like about a good relationship, or about friendship, or, you know, to then kind of give me the encouragement and the confidence, I think, to then attack that relationship.
So when you say listen or watch, you like watch a movie or
like
a show to distract you and maybe learn something from it? That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Yeah, because motion picture can really put a lot of emotions in you. It replace the emotions that you have because you're feeling for somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in business, actually, sometimes I'll put on like hardcore hip hop, right? Like if it's something where like there's a business issue and I feel like I'm attacked or something in a business setting, I'll put on a song that's like, you know, you can do anything, you can be anything, and it actually empowers me enough to then not be stressed about the attacks. I'm like, oh, I'm going to use this as a strength. I'm going to, instead of letting it like bring me down and cause me stress, which then allows me to not think straight and now my mind is foggy, I just go like, you know what? Just take control, get empowered, and now like I almost don't feel the stress.
I like that. Very tactical.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So I think, being tactical, figuring out like what gets you there, but then when you're actually there, have you thought about like what you do differently? So let's say, for instance, while you're stress eating, after you've had that first bowl of cereal that you're like, I didn't even want this.
Right.
Do you think that there's certain things that you can do in those moments where you're like, oh, I've slipped, I've started going down that path, but I have to stop it before I then spend the next 3 hours just eating the rice cakes that I hate?
Right. What could I do?
Yeah.
Like I said, I think I just need to get out of there.
Right. But how do you stop that? Like, right? Like, what is... Because sometimes once you get going...
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It's really hard to stop.
Yeah. Definitely. And some of you guys listening may relate to this, but have you ever eaten something bad and you just feel like, well, the rest of my day is ruined. Who cares? I'll just stuff everything else in my mouth because I'll just start fresh tomorrow. So that's kind of how I felt with all the rice cakes, which is also like, Cassey, if you're eating bad, like, could you at least eat like the good stuff? Anyway, so how do I stop? I think I really just have to get out of there because it's difficult for me to have control when there is temptation around. So yeah, that's what I do. But I didn't do that because I had already done the things I needed to do for that day.
Right.
So I didn't know what to do with myself. And if I just went on the computer to even write emails or design something, like my mind was always still thinking about the food. I don't know. It was really weird. But that moment is gone. I haven't binged like that in like years. It was just something that happened on Sunday. Maybe it was all that extra energy, different energy around me where I just felt like I just need to eat to calm myself down. But
were you really like up until that point, did you have like a stressful week in regards to like a lot of work? Because you were saying about not sleeping. Have you been up that week?
I don't remember what happened, but I remember we had just launched one of our newest products. It's the 2017-2018 Focus Journal, and this is the
amazing.
first. Oh, thank you! It's the first time we've released an academic planner. We always release a regular planner for the year of 2018 and 2017. And when I went to speak at the University of Pittsburgh and a bunch of other colleges earlier this year, students were asking me, is there any way you can help us stay healthy while getting good grades in school? And they're like, we really love your Fit Planner, but can you make one for students? And so that meeting really was the conception of the idea to create the planner that we just released last week. And so, we had just gotten the shipment in and we were like, let's get this out real quick. And I think everybody at the office was really like on their game and we were going really hardcore the entire week, even though on Monday we were like, this is going to be an easy week, and it totally wasn't. So, I mean, that's that.
Yeah, when I get stressed, like for me, it's an accumulation of weeks and weeks. It's not necessarily like one day all of a sudden stress comes to me. And so when I had to really dissect, like, okay, how do I get to... Because in the past, I used to get to like the point where I couldn't think straight. My head almost like feels like swollen.
That's crazy.
And it's not, and obviously not swollen.
Yeah,
it just feels. It feels because I can't think straight. Huh. And so I thought, this isn't productive. This doesn't help. I turn from stress, I go into being kind of like irritable and snappy, which isn't a good trait to have. Yeah. I mean, no one wants to be around that. People, surely they don't want to be around me when I'm like this. I don't want to be around me when I'm like this because I'm just irritable. Like certain things that wouldn't bother me, or certain things like that, I'm like getting annoyed by it. And so I didn't like that. And so I think that that's like almost the first step, right? Like, what are the actions you do that you don't like about yourself, and then how do you change them? Like, that's always what I'm trying to do. And so for me, it was identifying when I've got to that point. So it's the cloudiness, the head swelling, my face gets hot.
Oh, yeah. So it becomes physical.
It does become physical. And then I don't want to be around people. And I realized, like, I don't want to be around people. And so I was like, okay, this isn't the way to handle it. What are the things I can do? And it really is, unlike you, where you're like, oh, well, if I'm busy for a week or two, like, I know that it will change. For me, I had to tell myself I'm never done. And that was freeing, because it's like, I've got to do all this in one day, and oh my God, how am I going to do it? And like, then I start to stress. But I can't stay up, because like you can do like a whole week. I can't do that. 2 days of not sleeping well, and I'm no use to anybody.
And we're all so different.
Yeah.
We're all so different.
So I put those kind of like little steps in place. I go, okay, so when this happens, Lisa, you start to get irritable. Okay, when you do this, your face starts to get hot. And so I've kind of got these like little bookmarks that are like warning signs. So like, for instance, with your cereal, like for me, it's like, okay, flag up, shouldn't be doing this. Okay, stop this. I know. And I call it my sober moments. And what I mean by my sober moments is I'm not drunk by emotions. So in my sober moments, like right now, I say to myself, all right, Lisa, next time when you raise that flag, because you've identified one of the, so let's say it's eating the bowl of cereal, or for me, it's like my face starts getting hot, or I start getting snappy. I go, okay, I'm getting snappy. Raise the flag. What do I do when this happens? I've told myself in my sober moments that when I raise the first flag, walk out the door, right? So that I've told myself, and I've given myself almost instructions.
It's like a fire drill.
It's a fire drill.
I like that. Okay, the next time I feel like I'm going to eat a bowl of cereal, which I don't even really like bowls of cereal, like, walk out the door, like, go for a walk, go water the plants, like, do some, I just actually have to physically get out. Yeah.
Raise that flag after that first bowl, because in your sober moments, you've told yourself when you're eating something you don't even like, that's a signal, that's a sign. Right? And I've really kind of broken it down so that I never get there. So you said Sam gets stressed for the both of you.
Oh, he does, yeah. He's a super
And then how do you
stressor.
handle that, right? Like,
how do I handle his stress?
Yeah, like when someone else is always stressed around you.
I go up behind him and I try to give him a massage, but then he doesn't like massages. So then I just try to like give him a hug and then tell him not to stress out, because you can always wait. The person you're trying to write an email to can always wait till tomorrow, and it's going to be fine, and life is great. So I kind of do that every single time, but it always starts with a physical touch, like a hug, and a good like 10-second hug, and then talking it out, because I can tell like when his shoulders start to like raise a little bit and he's kind of frantic and he's on his phone. I'm like, hey, like, it's okay. And I think he needs that to calm down.
Yeah. I find that really useful, is having people around you that know what you need when you're in those moments, right? If you're stressed, or if you're just physically stressed, like you were saying. Like articulating that to the people around you. You know, because if you were just as stressed as him, and then you then kind of came at him with that same level of intensity, there'd be pretty much fireworks, I assume.
Yeah, totally. But for anyone who is at home alone, or in their apartment alone, and they're starting to get stressed, maybe they don't have a significant other, right?
That's
or even close friends who they can call about it. I very much suggest getting out of that environment, because maybe you're stressed and certain objects laying around the house are reminding you of that stress. And for me, it was like food in pantries that I didn't even want to eat. And so you just get out, go to a place with other people, like have their energy around you. I mean, going to a gym is great. Everyone's working out. They're putting in effort. Like, go do something like that. If that's too hard, I don't know, go shopping. Like, that's really easy and fun, looking at bright colors and things like that. Go for a walk outside. I don't know. Like, go to a pet store and pet a pet. I don't know. Anything, right? Just, like, get out.
Yeah.
I think that'll help. Yeah.
I also learned to let go of things, like mentally or emotionally. So, like, let's say I'm traveling.
Yeah.
And you've got a deadline. Like, that causes me stress because I'm like, I've got a deadline. In fact, let's take the Sheroic Podcast.
Okay.
We released this podcast while I had a business I was traveling.
Yes.
So I was in Cannes. We were releasing the podcast, and I was like, initially, I don't know how I'm going to do everything. Like, how can I be there and make sure that, like, the podcast is, like, I'm giving my 100%, and then how can I be in, France and do these business meetings and play at a high level? Like, I got myself all stressed about having to do both. And I reminded myself of the tactics that I put in place, where I was like, I choose this life. That's very powerful for me. I choose this life. I chose to do the podcast. I chose to start a business. Like, all of these different things is in my control. Like, I wanted to do this. So now if it's not bringing me happiness and all I'm feeling is stress, like, then stop doing it.
Yeah.
No one's forcing me to.
Yeah.
And then if I choose to then do both at 100% and I'm tired, then find the beauty in that. This is great. This is the life that I've chosen to do. Or let go of something and say, you know what, I can't physically or emotionally handle this. I just can't. So I have to make a decision. And then what's that decision? Okay, the decision is, and this is exactly what I did, on the day of our release, I turned to Tom, my husband, and I said, I'm not going to be able to go to these meetings today. I'm going to find a little spot that has Wi-Fi, and I'm going to be like offline for you for like a few hours until we make sure that this goes up and we've posted it and everything goes well. I had to make that sacrifice, right? I couldn't be at two places at once. And just trying to be at two places at once was stressing me out. So I was like, I just have to let go. Like, I just have to let go and be okay with it. And so in saying to Tom, I'm not going to come to these meetings, I was fully able to engross myself in the release and be on my computer. And I found this pretty spot in France where it was like, I was looking at the ocean. I mean, there's only so much you can really complain.
It's amazing.
But I made that decision. And so I think when you're looking at stress or things that can like really cloud your judgment, is look at what are you actually getting stressed over. And then just even traveling, like with packing and stuff, it's like, what's the worst? I used to get so stressed about traveling and working. It's like, what's the worst that's going to happen? So you forget some clothes. What's
just
the
go buy it.
Go buy it.
Yeah. Or the hotel has some.
Exactly.
Hotels always have toothbrushes and toothpaste, by the way. That's great. And shavers, too, if you forget that. Yeah. So let's talk about some like practical stress techniques. So we talked about getting a massage. We talked about listening to music that empowers you. I also find that if you're so stressed and everything is crazy, like just go to sleep. Like literally, like just go take a nap.
But can you? I find it difficult to
when you're
sleep
stressed.
when I'm stressed.
There's different types of stresses. When I'm sad stressed, I can totally go sleep right away because I feel like it's like running away from my problems, and I just go to sleep right away. Yeah, it's different for different people.
And then the other, you said when I'm sad stressed. What about when you're physically?
When I'm physically stressed in terms of like stress eating and stuff like that, well, I just need to get out of the situation. But
if you try to then lie down instead of eat, would that work for you?
No, I would just keep thinking about food.
Okay. So you have to really know yourself,
You have to know yourself and your type of stress. If I'm work stressed, I actually just grind through it. I write down what I need to do and I just get through it to get over the stress. What else do you do?
So writing down, depending on the type of stress, I'll try and walk away. So like if a discussion is causing me stress, right, like a really heated discussion, I know I've got to walk away.
Yeah.
Because I can't bring my stress levels down in that moment. I ask myself certain questions. So like what you were saying about your team, like do they really mean it? Like if it's again a stressful discussion, do they really mean it? No. Okay. So that actually helps me. I listen to music for sure.
Yeah. Do you ever play video games to make yourself less stressed?
God, it actually stresses me out even more.
Oh gosh, really?
It's a distraction, actually. So that's good.
Yes.
The problem is it doesn't lower my cortisol levels.
Because you're thinking strategy.
Kill him.
Aww.
So yeah, but in fact that's actually a good thing. Find something that you enjoy doing, like kind of like what you're saying with shopping and stuff.
Shopping, dancing, going, maybe even cooking if I don't know. I find cooking to be relaxing. Probably what I should have done in that situation is like, are you hungry? Okay, spend some time to like make some food at least. At least I can meal prep for the entire week.
Yeah.
And I make so much food. And of course, talking it out with somebody. I think that's really, really helpful.
Someone that can accept you for you, though, as well, right?
Yeah,
you can't
who knows your stress and like knows your tendencies so that they don't think you're some crazy person. I mean, you could be truly honest with them,
right?
Why you're feeling that way.
Yeah. With Tom, like I've told him, like when I'm stressed, I just need you to be sweet. Like that's my thing. Be sweet to me.
Yeah.
Tell me you love me. Pet my arm.
Pet your arm?
Yeah.
Like this?
Just like that? Touch.
Aw, pet your arm. That's cute. That's really
Don't you
cute.
find that touch, though, makes a difference?
Well, that's why I was saying when Sam gets stressed, I give him a good 10-second hug. Like a full-on, like, hold.
Yeah.
A body hold. So, like, I almost feel like I'm taking away the stress energy from his body and almost putting it in my own, like, so that he can relax. I mean, I don't know how energy works and chi and all that kind of stuff, but I do believe that when you hold someone for a long time, like, it really relaxes them.
I actually just read that holding someone for 30 seconds, like specifically 30 seconds or more, it then starts really, like, it almost activates that connection mechanism.
I read something about that too. We'll have to look up that stat because the power of touch is very, very powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, just be nice. Like, I almost don't want, though, him to hug me.
Really?
Yeah, because I feel even more trapped.
Oh.
Like, if I'm stressed, it's like, I need to just, like, get away. I
Oh
need to,
my
like,
gosh. That's so
that's why that's
interesting.
probably actually why I said, like, touch my arm, like, stroke
Just
my
pet your
arm.
but don't hug.
Because it's touch, but it's not, like, invading my space.
And I think it's really important to just note to those who haven't seen you and Tommy, you guys are like super like lovey-dovey, intimate, and so it's not like Lisa doesn't like to be touched by Tom at all.
No, I sit on his lap all the time.
It's just the moments of stress.
Yeah. But that's also like just keep on going back to this, like identifying what the things are in your sober moments that you need. Write them down and then read them in those moments. So if you've been able to identify the flag moments, right, the bowl of cereal, or for me it's my face getting warm, whatever it is, if you put these like little markers in, and then this is what I need when this happens. So I've said to Tom, like I don't want big hugs because I know myself well enough. So being able to have those guidelines for yourself, I think is very strong.
You know, when you said that sometimes you get so stressed that your head feels swollen?
Yeah.
I actually had that experience about a few weeks ago for the first time.
Really? What happened?
I think it was a really difficult week and we had gone through a lot.
In business, you'd gone through a lot?
Yeah, in business. It's usually always in business.
Right.
And I felt my head get so dense.
Yeah.
This might be kind of the feeling that you're talking about. So I literally turned to Sam, and it was a Friday, and I was like, I literally do not want to do anything that has to make me think. I would love to do something completely mindless right now. And he's like, cool, let's play video games. And I'm really bad at video games, but I was like, cool, let's play video games.
Awesome.
And it was, I just needed to divert my energy away from my mind and into my fingers, I guess. But yeah, I think sometimes when you get stressed, like just literally do something else. And I think doing something physical when you're stressed, like I would say a massage is physical, a hug is physical, going for a walk is physical, doing something where you're moving another part of your body that isn't so stressed. But if you're like stressed from working out, that's a whole nother different thing. Then you just need rest. You probably just go to sleep. Yeah,
that's interesting. I never thought about it doing something specifically physical.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought of that right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll have to test it and see if it works. But very true. That was one of the first times I felt density in my head. And literally the first time in my life when I said, I would like to do something mindless right now. Because I never say that. Every time I do something, it has to have a purpose. There has to be a goal. And it has to be fun. But I really wanted to do absolutely nothing useful to society.
To society. And working out, though, is kind of funny with me because I find that it helps in the moment. So, like, if I'm feeling stressed, I actually am able to kind of externalize it, right? Because I love lifting weights. So I'm like, yeah. Like, I go into, like, kind of, like, aggressive mode with myself. The problem is when I leave the gym, I'm still in that mode.
What mode?
So like the aggressive, like yeah.
But that's why people work out, so you can be in that mode.
No, I know, but when I leave, I haven't necessarily lowered my stress levels.
Okay.
But in that moment, I have, because I feel like I'm letting it out. But I've so like risen my aggression, I guess, inside to like a higher level. I don't feel less stressed when I leave the gym.
Interesting. That's really interesting, because I would say that going to the gym, like taking a class, like that decreases my stress levels because I'm just tired from doing it. And so now I am filled like with new energy. I think it also depends on the type of workout. Like if I'm super stressed, then I probably want to take like a slower class or something like that. Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm the opposite. More aggression, heavier weights.
Yeah. Interesting.
Harder core rap music.
Yeah. I think
but again,
it's
it
just
doesn't
like,
help.
Yeah, and I think if it matters the type of stress, like if it's sad stress or like someone made you upset stress, then you want to go to a kickboxing class and like hit some, what do you call it? I don't go to kickboxing classes that often. Those
like something.
Those
a pad.
What do they call it? Those like long, they look like sausages.
Punching bags?
Yes! Punching
sausages. Oh my God, that's a freaking classic.
And that's when we end the podcast for today. Boxing sausages. Okay, cool. So, yeah.
You're saying kick something.
I mean, different types of stress. When I'm sad stressed, I want something slow. I want to go to sleep. When I'm really upset and someone got me riled up, then I want to like punch things and like, then I want to like lift heavy weights.
Right.
And there's just different types of stresses. Identify the stress and figure out what you need to do to get over it.
Right.
And just know it's going to be okay. Tomorrow's going to be another day, just like in the Annie musical. And you're going to be fine. You're going to be totally fine.
And like try different things, because sometimes you may try something like this didn't work. For me, going to the gym and lifting heavy weights, while I know in that moment it may help, I know that afterwards it doesn't.
So it's just a momentary distraction.
Yeah. Because a lot of people are like, oh my God, I meditate and it really helps.
I have not meditated yet, and I find my meditation through massages.
Right.
That's how I truly clear my mind. It's somehow, and this is physical thing coming in again.
Yeah.
When I'm laying on the bed and by the way, I get my massages real hard. Like, I ask them to elbow me the entire way. I ask for super hard, deep tissue massage. And somehow that really relaxes me. So the more pain I have, somehow my mind is like letting go, and I get into this space of bliss. And that's how I meditate. Wow. I've never been able to sit down and go like, Om, and like meditate because I'm thinking too much. But when my mind is diverted to the pain in my back, and good pain, I'm able to clear my mind.
Do you think it's because it is distracting? Because when something is slightly painful, you're thinking about the pain versus thinking about anything else external that's happening in your life?
And I wouldn't even want to use the word thinking, because my mind is at peace when that happens. Because when you're thinking, your mind is working, right? And so I just feel like there's activity on my back, and because it's, maybe I think about it the first few minutes, but then I really begin to enjoy it, and my mind just like, I'm halfway between sleep and consciousness, and that's what I call meditation. It's somewhere right there.
So once you're done with the massage, are you able to stay there?
Stay where?
Like stay in that kind of like meditative, mellow state.
Yeah, and that's why I like to get massages at the end of the night, so that it puts me in a mode ready for bed too.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, getting massages for me like in the morning, that doesn't really make sense to me, because then I feel like all the benefits are now, it's almost like I've opened up my mind to allow more things to come in, versus opening up my mind and then allowing it to relax and having another 8 hours to just like find peace.
That's actually a good note.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried meditation and it doesn't work for me.
What do? You just think about everything?
Yeah, my mind like just keeps racing. And then I'm like, okay, Lisa, stop. People say this is initially what happens to you when you meditate, and, concentrate on your breathing. And I go from, okay, concentrate on my breathing. Okay, 1.
Then you think about the breathing. 3, you can't breathe anymore.
And then I'm like, but yeah, I know I should have done that. And then before I know it, I'm like thinking about something else. I'm like, I was just counting a second ago. Like, and now I'm thinking about work again. Or I'm thinking, like, I don't know how I even slip into it, but it doesn't work.
I actually have a friend who says that he meditates every single day. And I'm like, really? Because he's a power lifter. And you wouldn't think of him meditating. But he surprised me by saying that he meditates every day through his lifting. So that's how he finds Zen.
Through lifting?
Through lifting. So I think...
Like, while he's lifting, I
think he just feels so relaxed. Like, just being in this mode. And so... I think meditation is so different for everybody. Yeah. And I think it's definitely a very ancient thing, but I think modern society is just getting into it. And I think we're going to discover that meditation is very different for every single person.
It really is, yeah. And I think that was probably one thing that didn't make me want to try it for the longest time, because I feel like I'm not the type of person to just sit there and say, like that's, but once I realized that other people are like, oh, hey, I can meditate through lifting, or I meditate this way. I tried other little things because I think it's really, like, I just love learning new skills and new things I can do with my body and my mind and how I can always improve. And I tried all these different ways of meditating, didn't work. And then I went snorkeling.
I love snorkeling so much.
Do you find it somewhat meditative?
Super.
I don't know if meditative is a word, by the way.
Super. I love snorkeling.
Okay, so what is it that you like about it?
I love being one with the fish.
Oh, that's so Disney princess of you. Ariel.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's just, I just feel like when you're in the water, you're in like in a different time zone. Do you feel that way?
I don't feel like do you feel that even if you're not snorkeling, like even if you're just swimming?
No, I'm a terrible swimmer. Right. I have to be floating and looking at things in the water, like I'm a part of an aquarium.
Right,
or something
that's so cute.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know if I would have said time zone, that's interesting. I feel like enclosed because my hearing changes and my eyesight changes, so all my senses are altered. Because you're looking through water, right? You're seeing a whole world that you didn't think about really exists much. I mean, there's a fish, but there's all like this beautiful intricacy under the water. Yeah. And so all my senses changed, and I didn't expect that. Like your skin feels different. Obviously, touch underwater feels different. And all I could hear was my breath.
Yes, that's very meditative.
It's so meditative.
Yes.
So the whole time I've tried I've tried listening to music. My husband listens to like rainfall in his headphones. I tried everything. Nothing seemed to work.
Not even massages?
No.
Okay.
Not even massages. I feel relaxed somewhat, but I don't like really stay there. I kind of go, oh, that feels good. Yeah, right in that spot. And then I kind of go back to other things.
Yeah.
But I went snorkeling for the first time, and I was underwater, and all I could hear is my breath, right?
That is really meditative. I 100% agree with you, and I'm so excited because next week I'm going to Kauai for
the first time. I'm so excited. For the first time.
We're to Kauai.
Okay,
I've been to Oahu a few times already. Maui twice, and I love Maui so much. We snorkel like 5 times a day.
Did you really?
We drive different spots. We snorkel. And we have our own gear, too. Like, we're so serious.
Really?
Yeah,
wow, so you're like legit.
Yeah, we have fins and masks. Wow. We even have some for other people. Wow. Like, we love snorkeling. So we're going to Kauai, and I hear it's a lot more countryside than even Maui, and I really love nature, so I'm into that. I don't love the bugs about nature, but I like the water and things like that. So I'm really excited to be in that state of like,
yeah,
and then you just looking. It's just so peaceful. Yeah. They should bring snorkeling to the city. So
how would you do that?
I don't know.
A giant aquarium with beautiful fish that you...
Maybe, but then that doesn't make sense, really.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
But there's something to that I did not expect. I didn't ever expect to feel like like honestly, my husband was like, oh, wow, you're like, wow, it really affected you. Like, because I keep going on about it. But it's because so in going back to the stress, like, try new things, like keep experimenting, because when I went snorkeling I had no idea of the impact it would have on me until I did it.
It's so fun.
Yeah,
it's so fun. We should go snorkeling together.
We really should.
Can we do that?
Let's pick the day that I'm going to be stressed. Let's go together.
So that we don't stress you out by taking you away from work. It makes you more stressed. Okay.
See, now you see the vicious cycle. But so for you, like when you go on vacation, for instance, like you're about to go and you do snorkeling, do you feel that's like almost like a reset for you? Do you ever think like that? Because you work, like, we both work up, men, you work a lot.
Yeah, I think we both do. I'm really excited for this vacation because it's our first one of the year, and we always like going somewhere tropical, somewhere where we can have an adventure, because I honestly don't enjoy going to resorts where everything's nice and laid out for you. I kind of like exploring and finding blowholes, or finding like new coral, like finding a reef that we need to explore. I really enjoy that. Yeah. So for me, the vacation itself is a reset. But then I would say the number one thing that I look forward to most is snorkeling.
Really? Yeah. Because of that reason?
It's just fun.
Yeah.
But you're right. You reminded me that it is also very meditative, and that's probably why I really like it.
And there's something to seeing like the world in a different way.
Yeah.
Like kind of like maybe that's, you know, when you said earlier, what was it? You said, like it's a different...
Oh, like a different time zone.
A different time zone.
Yeah.
Like, it does feel like a different world.
Yeah.
And again, like, almost those little things also help me put things in perspective.
Yes.
Right? Because it's like, hang on, I'm stressing about this one thing at work that, like, fell apart and I can't believe, and, you know, all of this. And it's like, but put it into perspective of the whole world. Like, almost like, here's these pretty little fish that are just, like, chilling.
Yeah. Let's chill like them.
I know, yeah. So, and then the colours, obviously, being a very visual person, do you feel like that really kind of like does it inspire you at all?
I just love it. I love colors. Like seeing the yellow fish and the purple fish and the rainbow fish, and it's just so exciting. Like, I love it. I love the whole thing about it.
So if you could, let's say there was a place here in LA that you could go to and get that same exact feel, would that kind of be a go-to for you in moments of like overwhelm or stress or not enough sleep or...
I do think that's a really good idea. The waters in LA are very cold. They're kind of murky.
And murky, yeah.
Yeah, so you can't really snorkel here. But I haven't been to Catalina Island. I hear you can snorkel there, but you have to wear a wetsuit.
Yeah, that's not fun.
It's not fun. I'll just like wear my bikini and just going. But I should try it before I say anything.
Right.
So, I should probably try that next time. But, you know, that requires planning, and does that stress you out more? Getting a hotel? Like,
But then that goes back to the thing that I'm trying to force myself to remind myself is, if planning a vacation is stressful, like, but the whole point is to go on vacation and enjoy yourself. So if it's stressful, either don't go on vacation so you don't get stressed by the planning, or say, you know what am I actually stressing about? Like, am I stressing about it being too cold? Am I like, then just like alter it, right? It's in your control.
Yeah. But if it's stressing about planning a vacation, I mean, come on, get over it. You're going to go on vacation, right? Just do it. Or get your significant other to do it. Get someone else's I don't know. Right. Vacation is good. Like, deal with it.
So what about weddings? You hear women get stressed all the time with planning a wedding, right? Like, how many people do you know who get super stressed about planning their wedding? I was one of them.
Yeah. Were you bridezilla?
Oh God, I don't think I was, but I was definitely stressed.
Okay.
Like, I don't think I ever like did the screaming at other people. Like, in fact, I didn't.
Okay.
But I was definitely a ball of stress leading up to it. And I remember, like, for the last, like, 3 weeks, it was like, oh, my God, we haven't done this. And, like, you know, you get frantic. And the day before, I literally consciously, I remember this, and I've been married for 15 years, so it was a long time ago. But I said to myself, you're about to marry the man of your dreams. Things are going to go wrong. Embrace things are going to go wrong. Your wedding's never going to be perfect. And if you know it's never going to be perfect, now you can just embrace things are going to go wrong. Your flowers may not show up. The caterer, the food's cold. Like, there's to the extreme, like, things are going to go wrong. But what is actually the reason why you're getting married? I'm getting married because I want to stand up in front of my family and declare my love for this man.
Yeah.
So as long as he shows up, right, like, that is really the biggest thing for me. Like, I need to embrace that this is the beauty of the day and not make it about the food or not make it about the flowers. And that was really empowering for me.
That's kind
of like
good.
Letting go.
Yeah, sometimes people get too focused on the details and they make it become such a big deal, but it's not. It's really not. There's a lot of different things going on in the world. Put into perspective and realize it's going to be okay. And if it doesn't go out perfect, that's okay too. It's the stress you put on yourself.
Do you do that with business as well then? Like, if you're about to launch something?
I mean, every time you launch something and you know, like, of course you hope that people like it. You hope that you get the sales that you projected and things like that. But if you don't, then figure out how to make it happen.
Right.
I mean, it's just life. You don't really have rules. I mean, like, yes, you have governmental laws and stuff, but whatever. Like, you can control what the outcome is. And if people don't like it, then, well, maybe it wasn't a good product. Like, try something else. Yeah. So you just have to learn to accept why it's not working and then be open-minded enough to change.
Yeah, instead of kind of internalize it, build it up, take it personally. Yeah. So actually, there's something that you just said that made me remember the opposite effect. What? So if I'm feeling frustrated or if I'm feeling stressed, do the exact opposite. So if I'm frustrated about something or a situation, and I feel myself getting like antsy or I feel myself getting anxious, I go, what's the opposite of this feeling right now? Be the shining light of that room. Put on a smile and be so funny and fun to be around. And you have, like, I literally, like, force myself to be the complete opposite.
That's really hard.
It is really hard. I need a few moments by myself to gear myself up. But I tried it once and it worked so well. I was like, this is a skill I need to remind myself to completely do, because no one wants to be around people that are stressed, right? So, in fact, so let's take the example. We were doing a production, one of the most expensive productions that Quest has ever done.
Okay.
And we were building massive sets. I mean, they were huge. There was 3 massive sets. They were like 30 by 30 feet. I mean, gigantic. A lot of money went into the production. We had a shoot date scheduled. We had the crew booked. Everything was ready to go. And I wake up at like 4 a.m. because it was an early call time. I wake up at 4 a.m. to a text message from my director saying, Lisa, the sets aren't ready. We can't shoot today. Now, all the equipment was hired out. All the crew had been booked. So that added thousands of dollars to our production day, right? As you know. You can't shoot in a day. That's a lot of money. There's like 20 crew members. There's equipment that you rented. All these, like, we had like the best cameras at the time that we were renting. And so that was a lot of money. And so I got this text message. And I told myself, do the opposite. Right now, I want to be like, how on earth did this happen? Like, why were we over budget? Like, you don't realize, like, we're over budget. Like, this is crazy. You know, like, there's a lot of, like, at stake here. And I just said, be the opposite.
Okay.
Be the opposite right now, because asking that question, this person doesn't mean it. This person, like, loves the project and, you know, so what is the opposite? All right, so I texted them back and I was like, cool, we're going to figure this out. I'm leaving the house right this second. What can I do for you? Do you want breakfast? I'm going to stop at Starbucks. I'm going to get us coffee together. I'm going to get us some breakfast and we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about it. And I turned up and I was like all jokey. I was like, you know, like, well, typical, like, can you believe we got ourselves into this predicament?
Yeah.
And it changed everything. It changed everything. It changed the way that I projected myself. It changed the way I felt. It changed the way the crew felt after that. It changed the way I believe it changed our outcome, because I don't think I would have been able to think straight, right? Because your mind, going back to the mind being cloudy.
Emotions are very infectious. And as the leader, you need to put off the emotion that you want to see reflected back at you.
Yeah.
So I love that you were able to go from such a hole of anger and frustration and you know, knowing that you are over budget and you're late. Like, that's like for real stress.
Right.
And yet you were able to not only dig yourself out of the hole, stand up on the dirt, but also climb the mountain while you were at that. And then now you made everybody else feel comfortable. Because here's the truth. Nobody wanted to be in that situation.
Right.
And by you yelling at them, does that make it any better?
No.
And as the leader, you need to show them how we need to view this and how we need to fix it. And that's why, for me, I feel like I am able to get over most stressful situations quickly, because my question is, what's the problem? How do we solve it? I just don't want to be caught in all that emotion and all that crazy stuff, because it doesn't matter. We all want the same thing. We want to have a good outcome, and that's it.
So it's perspective as well, right?
Totally perspective, and realizing you're in this hole and being like, hey, let's get out.
Yeah.
You don't want to be there forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I used to almost beat myself up a little about getting frustrated.
Oh, yeah, me
Which
too.
doesn't help.
Yeah, I used to do. Back when I was younger, anytime I got a bad grade on a test, I'd be so upset at myself that I would beat up my own self-esteem inside.
Really?
Be like, why did you do that? Like, why are you so dumb? Like, I would say that, like, to
Wow.
myself, and I'd be really upset. Yeah.
And so how did you stop doing that?
I think I didn't get out of that until maybe, like, junior year of college. So it was my
Really?
entire life that grades were pretty much the most important thing in my entire life. And I knew that if I got good grades, I'd go to a good school. And if I went to a good school, I would get a good job. And that's just kind of the mentality that academics puts you in. It's a mentality that my Asian parents put me in my experience. But after I realized that I don't want to be doing medical science for the rest of my life, I'm not going to be a doctor, and I want to follow my heart, then I realized, okay, grades don't matter that much anymore. And then so that's the moment when I stopped stressing about grades because they just didn't matter in my path of life. So it was a much bigger thing. But yeah, I stressed about grades like for a long time.
I bet you a lot of
time.
people listening right now can absolutely relate to that, and the fact that you were able to articulate that and like, look, it's not a big deal. Like if you end up, I mean, you didn't say this, but like if you end up failing a class, like it's not going to affect the rest of your life.
Well, sometimes it does if it's for like a very technical thing. So the reason why I stressed out so much about my grades, because every grade that I got, every score that I got on like, you know, big exams, like mattered towards getting into a certain type of medical school or something like that. I mean, of course, you can retake the course, but that takes time. And if you don't want to be really old and graduating from medical school, then you need to stick to that timeline. Right. And so, yes, you have consequences for when you don't get a certain grade. However, I think what really relieves a lot of the stress is when you're studying for a test, don't just try to get the answer and try to memorize the answer and memorize the content. Try to actually learn and understand the content. And when you're a student, you become so stressed because you have like 7 subjects that you have to really understand. And I think that's really hard. I think academics is, I think it could still be done in a much better way.
Yeah.
I for example, I think that instead of taking business courses, how about your 4 years, your course is to start a business, like, and then you get mentorship along the way from the professors. Like, I think that's like real school. Anyway, but I think a lot of professions are very different. You need technical skills. Like if you're going to open someone's heart and do surgery, like you need very technical skills.
Right, sure. That's
so yeah. Anyway,
yeah,
that's that.
All right. Well, I think that that covers at least round 1 of stress and how to deal with it and the tactics that we use. We'd love to hear from people at home and what tactics they use and how it's helped them, because we really want to build a community where we're sharing and you guys are sharing so that everyone can benefit. Like you may think that you're alone, but the truth is there's probably like thousands of people that would love to hear how you figure out to get out of that stress.
And that is all, y'all.
That is all, y'all. So until next time.
Be Sheroic. Bye.